There is something that does not quite meet the eye about the entire Pegasus controversy. It is almost as if all of us are being exposed and subjected to only one side of the narrative, which of course places the blame for the alleged surveillance firmly at the government's doorstep. On the face of it, who can take exception to the basic premise that the right of privacy of an individual is paramount and sacred? But is that the main issue in this case? I think not. There are wheels within wheels in this case, and let us try to separate the grain from the chaff, the truth from the bluster, the real conspiracy behind the alleged state conspiracy. Hi, and welcome all to the CAA show. My name is Juggi Bhasin. CAA is, of course, conversations and analysis. So, first things first. In life and in politics, they say timing is everything. And I cannot help but wonder at the timing of the Pegasus sting story. The government charge that the story hit the headlines coinciding with the start of the monsoon session in Parliament to derail the session is important, but it is not the main issue. The timing, to my mind, coincides and comes at a time when India is emerging from a fog of negativity, death, and suffering, and there is some hope in the air that better days lie ahead. The fact is that despite all the talk of the third wave, we are still in a kind of a subdued second wave situation. COVID cases, and more importantly, the deaths have fast been declining. There is talk that the international travel ban will be lifted in August. The vaccination drive, despite some hits and misses on some days, is largely on track, and the economy is again on an upswing. In short, the gloom and doom was, or rather is, receding. And just when all this was happening, to use a term from the Pegasus playbook called spear fishing, a spear of negativity was plunged in this mood of optimism. It was almost as if some people, some groups, some entities were almost desperate to pull back India in a sea of blackness and negativity and repeat their mantra that no good can happen under the Modi government. Who are these people? What is their end goal? Now, before I answer that, let me take you back in history. In the old days, there used to be something called the Communist International, or the Comintern, based out of the then Soviet Union. Its primary objective was to spread the communist ideology in every nook and corner of the world, overthrow regimes, or at the very least, give support to leftist elements in the country and create a state of anarchy. The Comintern has long been disbanded, but its inheritors in the present day, the left liberal lot, survive and thrive. The left liberals are very much a part of many democratically elected governments in Western democracies. But their cutting-edge presence is much more in media and academia. They have strong preferences and equally strong dislikes for leadership in democracies spread across the globe. It would be safe to say that after Donald Trump, the person who is on their radar and someone they acutely dislike and hate is Narendra Modi and his government. A close look at the 16-odd media outlets that investigated the Pegasus matter are almost entirely left liberal. many of whom have carried on a sustained campaign against the Modi government ever since it came to power, and more so during the pandemic. The Wire in India has especially been in the forefront in disseminating exaggerated stories about the pandemic, the communal situation in India, and the handling of the economy. Let us look at what these media outlets have been doing vis-a-vis the present government. I have, for instance, never seen the Washington Post or the New York Times take so much interest in India. Every third day, there is a story in their pages about India, and those stories are almost entirely negative. The New York Times went to the extent of advertising for a South Asia correspondent whose main job would be to report anti-Modi stories from India. Point I am making is that within and outside the country, there exists a clubhouse of left liberals who bandy together and who have made it their priority to pull down the present government. They do not care that this is a democratically elected government. They are determined to stigmatize it almost 24/7. Now, if all this negativity were just confined to articles and newscasts and opinion, the government could have ignored it. But over the last few years, and especially the last few months, the clubhouse has seriously damaged India. During the pandemic, by exaggerating the deaths and suffering, they tarnished India's image that will take a long time redeeming. Then they, without proof, claimed that actually 25 lakh people had died in the pandemic in India. Understand this. This negativity has really cost India. It affects foreign direct investment. It dilutes India's prestige and clout in international fora. But more important, it creates a whirlwind of negativity and unrest in the country. The same clubhouse was behind stoking the CAA and the Kisan agitation in the country. These agitations resulted in loss of life, property, and more seriously, polarized communities. But that was not all. During the face-off with the Chinese, the same forces and media outlets were without check showing Maxar satellite images of troop positions on the mountains in Ladakh, building up the Chinese presence to almost superhuman levels and demoralizing our forces and the entire country. If you think about it, all these instances where these rabble-rousers have worked, they've all been using technology. Whether it be of the social media, whether it be satellite imagery, or even the traditional TV news channels. Now, the question which I ask of you is this. Now, which government in its right senses would not respond to this provocation? I'm here not advocating that the use of a military software like Pegasus should be done to keep surveillance on such elements. No. The government actually does not need to do that. We live in a day and age when your phone picks up whatever you have said, and the next thing you know is that it appears on your social media as a product or a service you can avail of. We live in times when the Alexa is a spy you yourself have brought to your own house. We live in times when privacy of data, conversations, images can be hacked by 15-year-olds and sold off in the marketplace or on the dark web. In a sense, all of us live in the digital super lane where all of us are stripped naked to be seen and observed by anyone who cares to do that. So the question to be asked then is, do we require a Pegasus for India? absolutely yes. We require a Pegasus not for journalists and their opinions, but to counter serious and real threats like China and Pakistan, the Maoist insurgency in the hinterland and their sleeper cells in India, and all manner of agent provocators in the country whose only job is to polarize communities and spread anarchy on the streets and create disaffection. The Pegasus controversy is nothing but a Trojan horse advanced by left liberals to rekindle agitation in the country, push the country back in a zone of darkness, and fan the dying embers of anarchy. Most of all, it is an attempt to create a narrative of victimhood and gain sympathy. In line with that thinking, they call the present elected government an elected autocracy. Translated, it means they do not accept India's democratic vote count. Pegasus is just another tool for them to spread anarchy. They will be using many more such devices and ideas in the future to hammer home their agenda. The enemy within India is not Pegasus. It is this lot which perverts reality, uses deception, and spreads disaffection all around. So that's all for today. And do keep subscribing to us. And on that note, have a good night, everyone. And cheers for a great day tomorrow.